In the course of spending over 1,000 hours on the finals, I have gone through several gaming mice in my lifetime. Some of them made me play terrible, like Arya, while others have made me feel like a pro gamer. Well, I've spent a little under 2 weeks with the brand new ROG Harpe II Ace, and my overall experience was mixed. There were some things I liked, and there were some things I didn't like. So, with that said, let's get started. Alright, to start off, this mouse is going to cost you $160, which is pretty competitive when you compare it to other mice in its class. It's a 48-gram wireless gaming mouse with an 8,000 Hz polling rate without using a booster and without having to download any software. It is all website-based, just like the Falcata that I reviewed on the channel very recently. In the box, you get the mouse, of course, but underneath that is the full-length USB-C cable if you want to plug it directly into the PC. We got the extender right above that. And inside the smaller compartment, you get some pretty cool stickers, spare PTFE mouse feet, and some grip tape. I'm very disappointed for the price they didn't include any spare glass feet with this mouse, which is actually game-changing, at least for me personally. I mean, PTFE is nice and glides well over fabric pads, but glass feet have way better glide and control. I have them installed on my Viper Signature Edition, and it makes such a difference on cloth mouse pads, but we'll talk more about the glide later in the video. With the grip tape installed, the mouse now weighs 50 grams, which isn't the lightest gaming mouse by any means, but it's still considered a lightweight mouse given today's standards. And for competitive gamers, size and weight is everything. Design-wise, it's very similar to the Harpe Ace AimLab Edition, which I've been using in the studio for over a year now, with some minor changes. To start off, the mouse buttons on the top have a slightly different shape to them. The side buttons are thinner with a deeper side curve, and with the absence of these side grip lines. We also have a slightly lowered hump, and on the bottom, we did get a larger surface for the PTFE feet. They did move the receiver slightly higher to make room for larger feet and redesigned some of the buttons on the bottom. Now, even though the shape of the mouse has slightly been refined for better control, I would say overall there hasn't been a huge design change, which is a good thing because, the Harpe Ace AimLab Edition was already a good mouse to begin with, and its current users don't have to make any huge changes switching over to this mouse. I'm a claw gripper by nature, and I find the Harpe II Ace very easy to grip and glide around. However, it's also designed with palm and fingertip grippers in mind. This is mostly due to the subtle curve on the top. Now, I do have large hands, and I would say the mouse fits perfectly under my palm. However, it might be a little intimidating for people with much smaller hands. Even with my large hands, I prefer using smaller mice. It's just a lot easier for me to control and react faster in games. But the Harpe II Ace is still a very fast mouse. It's equipped with the Aimpoint Pro optical sensor and an 8,000 Hz polling rate through a single receiver. You no longer need an extra booster to go along with it, which is very nice. The side buttons are in a good spot. It's very comfortable to reach, and the contoured mouse buttons on top help with a better overall grip. When it comes to tracking, it works well with a standard cloth mouse pad. I mean, PTFE is pretty much the standard material used in all gaming mice because of its universal compatibility across all types of mouse pads. However, most pros use either glass feet or a glass mouse pad for better control. I really wish ROG included some glass feet with the mouse, or at the very least, give us an option to buy it separately. This isn't to say the Harpe II Ace is a slow mouse. It's still a very fast mouse, even with the PTFE feet, but the experience you're going to get with the mouse heavily depends on the mouse pad or the surface that you're using. For the most part, this tracks well on all surfaces, whether that's hard, wood, or glass. However, I recommend at least getting a cloth mouse pad. The pads we sell on our store have a nice balance of speed and control with really great stitching, and we have a ton of different designs and color schemes. I mean, you're practically guaranteed to find one that fits in your setup. You can check them out at texorshop.com. Now, when it comes to battery life, the Harpe II Ace is advertised to last about 101 hours under the 1000 Hz polling rate, which I think is a very pointless benchmark. Why would you test the battery life on the lowest possible polling rate? Makes no sense. Either way, I did testing of my own under the 8000 Hz polling rate without the RGB lighting on, and I was able to get a solid 13 days of use, averaging about 6 hours a day. So around 78 hours, give or take, of battery life from a full charge, which is still pretty good. I, for one, am super happy that I don't have to download any additional software to use the mouse. I can simply just plug in the receiver and use GearLink to control the mouse directly. I personally don't have anything against Armory Crate, but I know a lot of people out there don't like using it because it uses up a lot of resources and it's buggy most of the time. GearLink is something that ASUS should have done many moons ago. It's user-friendly, intuitive, and straight to the point. You can customize what each key does, you can set your own custom DPI setting and polling rate, control the RGB lighting on the ROG logo, and even optimize the battery life performance in the power setting. Near the bottom is the menu for zone mode. Here you can set a specific DPI and polling rate when you activate zone mode on the mouse by holding down both the side buttons and the DPI button for 3 seconds. Basically what this does is it reserves all performance power to what matters most. In other words, it shuts off the RGB lighting, maxes out the polling rate, and switches the sensor from power saving mode to always on. Now, just for fun, I wanted to see how better my aim was overall compared to the original Harpe Ace Aim Lab Edition. So I loaded up 3D Aim Trainer and I ran Tile Frenzy and proceeded to do 13 games on each mouse. The first 3 I did not count, as those were just a warm-up, and the results were interesting. On the Aim Lab Edition, I got an average score of 103.6, and on the Harpe Ace II, I got 105.1. So not a huge difference between the two, but I did notice that my accuracy was much better on average using the Harpe Ace II. So according to the test, technically I did better overall on the Harpe II Ace. Now obviously this isn't a scientific test by any means, and everyone's result will vary, but I just thought this was interesting to point out nonetheless. My overall rating for the ROG Harpe II Ace is 8.5. I think it's an insanely fast gaming mouse with incredible battery life. However, for me, it's just a little too big, and the absence of included glass feet is a little disappointing, especially when you label it as a competitive gaming mouse. However, with that said, if you don't care for the glass feet and the size is fine, then this is a solid mouse to pick up if you aren't already using an 8000 Hz polling rate gaming mouse. They also have one in white if that's the color you prefer, but either way, I'll drop a link to the mouse below if you guys want to check it out. Thanks for watching as always. If you want to see more mouse and keyboard reviews, make sure to toss a like, and I'll see you guys very soon in the next one.